Good day, everyone. I am Sandy Claire B. Masayon, and I will be the one to discuss about the workshop layout in CBT or the competency-based training. So, a good understanding of every aspect of a competency-based training is a must for every trainer who will use this training modality. So, now let us study one of the important aspects of the competency based training delivery, which is the competency based training workshop. So, in this lesson, the principles behind the arrangement or layout of a good workshop will be discussed so that it will help you plan for the layout of your learning resources and areas. Okay, let us start. So in CBT, this is a well-organized and physical learning environment. A well-organized and managed workshop is critical to the acquisition of skills. So importante gyud nga organized and well-managed ang training or ang learning environment so it could be easy for the trainees to acquire the skills needed for the trainings. So when planning to lay out your shop, you should consider the following principles of CVT. First, training materials are directly related to the competency standard and the curriculum. So your workshop should more or less mimic the equipment that are in the industry. So it should be able to provide for the practice of the trainees on competencies of the job. So meaning the equipments that the trainees use in trainings is more likely the same from the equipments that is in the industry. Kay tungod, at the first place, nag-training sila because they wanted to experience on how to use the specific equipments so that na-practice sila as well as makagain og learnings and also ma-enhance ang ilahang skills. Through that, if ang trainees are qualified na after the training sessions and other process of the qualification, pag about niya sa workplace is na siya background knowledge and experience about the specific job. So the selection of learning resources in CBT is based solely on the competencies of the qualification. So for example, beauty care, nail care services in situ ang napili nimo na qualification and the unit of competency nga imong napili is to perform manicure and pedicure. So ang learning resources na involved within that competency are the lectures, demonstrations like the process of performing manicure and pedicure and also the tools to be used. So, ang learning sources or the learning resources is dapat related siya sa competency of the qualification kung asa maka-learn gyud ang trainees sa iyahang napili na qualifications. So the competencies should dictate the learning resources to be laid out, not the other way around. So the availability of learning resources should not dictate the competencies to be achieved. So sa madaling salita, ang competency gyud ang mag-set up if unsa nga learning resources ang needed for the training. Kay tungod, dili man ang learning resources ang maghatag sa atuag idea kung unsa nga competency ang dapat na ma-achieve. So the second one, training delivery is individualized and self-paced. So in CBT, the trainees learn at their own pace. So your workshop layout must provide for this principle. So it is a training modality wherein the trainees is allowed to progress at his own pace. The trainer just facilitates the training delivery. So unlike from the CBT, in conventional training programs, it is the trainer who is using the materials as he lectures and demonstrates skills as trainees sit or stand, watch or listen passively, which means Sa conventional training, it is more likely done by group in which ang mga tasks or learning resources are provided by the trainers or instructors. Siya mismo gahimo sa lectures and demonstrations kung asa ang mga students is maminaw lang and taking the test and assessment by group. So the focus of the layout is providing individuals or small groups with high quality learning materials that provide for individualized training. So the component of the workshop should therefore be laid out in such a way that trainees will be able to use the learning resources individually. So in CBT, as a trainer, you should provide activities that will allow each trainee to advance on his own without waiting for the other trainees in his class to finish. So facilities, resources, and materials should also be structured so that uh, trainees could learn competencies at their own pace. And of course, for this principle of CBT, it is not necessary to have a lecture room because the trainers will not be giving lectures but they only facilitate the training delivery. So the trainee may not have same training needs even within the same qualification trainees would not be working on the same competency. Since isa sa qualification is nailahi-lahi ng unit of competency, so it is obvious nga they may not have same training needs. So trainees should be given sufficient learning time to perform the competency successfully. So the workshop should provide the trainees working on the different competencies in one given time. So yes, dapat enough ang time nga ihatag for the trainees while performing the competency, and also dapat lahi-lahing competency ang i-perform sa mga trainees at the specific time para ma-assess and ma-evaluate yun if kaya ba sa trainee ang self-paced learning. The third one, the system allows for learners to enter and exit programs at different times and levels and to receive an award for competencies attained at any point. So, multiple starting points is allowed in CBT. So, depending on the prior learning of the trainee, he may start learning any competency of the qualification. So, your workshop layout must allow any trainee to transfer from one competency to another after passing the institutional competency evaluation. So, in other words, this principle of CBT is having the flexibility for entry and exit from the programs. Okay, as a trainer would tend to go back to his conventional shop arrangement, to avoid this, you may consider the following differences between conventional workshop arrangements and that of the CBT workshop layout. So now let us determine the difference between the conventional and CBT layout. So for the conventional, many students are working on the same task at the same time, whereas in CBT, on a typical day, trainees may be working on several different tasks requiring different materials, resources, and space. In conventional, the entire class usually takes written tests as a group, whereas in CBT, an individual trainee or small group takes self-checks when ready and requiring a separate, quiet, and secure area. For the conventional, theory is usually covered in a classroom within the total group, whereas in CBT, theory is usually integrated directly into the individualized learning materials for learning tasks requiring individual study pace. And for the conventional, instructor has to prepare the teaching aids, consumable supplies, learning materials, and other resources for a single lesson on a given day. While in the CBT, the trainer must be make available to trainees the learning resources needed to receive instruction in any to practice several tasks on any given day. And for the conventional, the instructor is the primary user of the instructional media, for example, overhead or the projector, whereas in CBT, individual trainees set up and use instructional media, example, computer, DVD player, and it requires booths on the tables and storage areas for hardware and software. For the conventional, most students take performance tests in pairs or small groups at approximately the same time, while in CBT, each individual trainee can take each performance test when he or she is ready. So for the conventional, when testing of topic or unit is complete, the group usually moves on to the next topic, whereas in CBT, a trainee can work on a task as necessary to reach competence. He may need the resources for more than or less than the number of time others may require. Okay, lastly, for the conventional, the instructor provides extra assignments or responsibilities for students who complete the unit before the rest of the group. For the CBT, trainees start working on a new competency as soon as they have successfully achieved the preceding one. So as you can see in the table, you can easily differentiate the conventional to CBT layout. So in conventional, the training would be done by grouping the trainees, and the instructors will be the one who gives the lectures, demonstrations wherein ang students will just listen and observe, unlike with the CBT wherein the trainees are allowed to progress at his own pace, in which the trainer will just facilitates the training delivery. Okay, let us proceed to the different components or areas of a competency-based facilities. So first we have the practical work area. So this area is where the learner acquires the skills and knowledge components of the competencies prescribed by the standard. So this area must be subdivided into workstations, which are arranged in order according to hierarchy of competencies, such as workstations for auto electrical or for engine overhauling and etc. The second one, we have the learning resource area. So this area is proximate to the heart of the practical work area. So this area provides the learner with the knowledge requirements in the various modules responding to the competencies. So it is a place where project can be planned and self-paced learning is based. So this area has an array of learning materials in print or soft copies for a multimedia environment. So the third one is the institutional assessment area. So it is located very proximate to the practical work area, and this is where recognition of prior learning is done by the trainer. So this component also provides the mechanism of assessing the completions of competencies of a learner upon completion of all modules within a competency. So the trainee is handed a certificate of achievement by the institution. So this facility is provided with a computer system that houses and manages learners' individuals record, and skills assessment is conducted at the practical work area. Next is the contextual learning laboratory. So this facility ensures that the underpinnings knowledge, science, mathematics, and communication principles as applied to the technology are provided to the learner. Next is the quality control area. So various tests aside from metrology and calibration are conducted in this area, including in-process quality control. Next, we have the Trainers Resource Center. So this area houses the learning materials, the training regulations, and curriculum exemplars. So this is also the place where the instructors produce courseware or training materials. Next is the distance learning. Distance learning is one of the major issues of TVET is accessibility. So this is the major objective of this component is to enhance accessibility of TVET. So this is to enable the learning provision outside and away from the training institutions in terms of print and non-print media. We have the computer laboratory. This area depicts the major physical change in the delivery by the use of information technology. So this laboratory has an array of computer units of which learners are provided for them to learn and gain appropriate IT competencies that may include Word, Excel, even desktop publishing as may be prescribed in the competency standard and curriculum. And the last one is the support service area. So this area provides value-adding competencies as such for automotive service technician in situ, welding competency address underpinning skills in the particular competency. Okay, let us proceed to the characteristics of a good workshop layout. So we have five. First is the safe. So a safe learning environment is one of the most important considerations a trainer should consider in every layout. So remember that a CBT layout should allow trainees on their own. So, dapat as a trainer, you should consider to provide a safe learning environment for the trainees because gina-allow nimo sila na buhaton ng mga process for the training. So, if naay accident na mahitabo, kay accountable siya sa imo. So, dapat i-make sure jud nimo nga safe ang environment. Second one is the accessible. So a good layout provides for a circulation area both for the trainer and the trainee. So if possible, divisions or partitions are limited to reduce obstruction to the sight of the trainer as the training is going on. So lay out your workstations to allow easy monitoring. So dapat ang learning environments is accessible wherein ang trainees is makaperform while ang trainers are observing the trainers if unsay nahitabo sa training. The third one, complete component. So lay out the 9 components of CBT prescribed by TESDA depending on the functionality of the components in your qualification. So lay out related components next to each other. Example, learning resource area, contextual area, and distance learning area. And the fourth one is the aligned with the competencies of the qualifications. So workstations such as mock-ups, mock-ups should mimic those of the industry where competencies are directly related. So each competency should have at least one workstation for you to be able to do the CBT. So dapat ang mga resources nga gamiton is related or aligned with the competencies of the qualification. So dapat kung unsay naa sa workshop is mautoy gamiton for the training is because mo may gidictate sa competencies na dapat na ma-achieve. And the last one is well sequenced. So workstations that are sequenced in from simple to complex tasks is recommended. So within a competencies workstations, activities that will practice small tasks to achieve the main skill to be mastered should be provided for. So dapat organize po ang mga task dili kay lisod na daan ang sa start because para ma-practice sila unsa ang pag-achieve if complex task na ang ilahang ma-perform. So that's it for the characteristic of the workshop layout. We have the safe, accessible, complete component aligned with the competencies of the qualification and well sequenced. Okay, let us have the training regulations. So to ensure a quality CVT, the training regulations promulgated by TESDA for every qualification provides a list of tools, equipment, and materials and training facilities based on 25 trainees. So space requirement is also suggested for the different areas or components of CBT. So this is a good benchmark when laying out your workshop. So as you can see on the training regulations, makita na to dito ang list of tools, equipment, and materials and training facilities based on 25 trainees. So by that, maka-create tag workshop layout because dali na lang ma-assign ang different component areas of CBT and also the learning resources. Okay, here's a sample workshop layout. I think it is for the automotive service technician in C2. So as you can see from the sample, makita na to diri ang computer laboratory. Nakita po na to ang learners resource area and the practical work area, assessment area, and contextual area. And dapat in creating a workshop layout is makabaluta sa mga facilities and also asa siya dapit ibutang nga position. So para ma-organize ang dagan sa training within the workshop. So I think that is the end of our discussion about the planning and training sessions in competency-based learning. So I hope you learned something from our discussion, guys. Thank you for listening and God bless everyone.